All right. Howdy, friends. You are catching me early today. I'm just now backing out of my driveway. All right. I think it's because I'm expecting this to be a decently long video. Because today, after a conversation I had with a real close friend of mine last night, I want to talk about negativity. And that's a big subject. I will probably have to do multiple videos, but here we are. So, the thing about negativity is that negativity just breeds more negativity. Okay? Like, I cannot stress this enough. If you take anything away from this video, it's that negativity breeds negativity. So, there is a thing referred to as the negativity bias. And this is something that has been extensively researched. I will put a couple of links to a couple of articles that have links to other articles and research studies and so on and so forth in the description. So check down there for those. But essentially, negativity bias is the belief that when of equal intensity, negative events, thoughts, and so on have a longer lasting and more easily noticeable effect than positive events. So if you had a negative event and a positive event that were both equal in power, you are going to remember and dwell on the negative event far more and far longer than the positive one. Like I said, it's been researched, it's been studied to death. It's something that's been around as a theory and notion for a very long time now. Just had to slow down to dodge a crow. Anyway, so why do we want to avoid negativity? Well, the sad truth is that we cannot avoid negativity. Life doesn't work that way. You know, there's going to be equal parts negative and positive. Some days will be more negative, some days will be more positive. It's just how life works. But there are things that we can do to manage negativity in our lives, and I will talk about those in the latter half of this video because I really want to enforce why it is so important to manage and control our negativity. So, long-term research studies have drawn direct correlation between people who have a more negative personality being more likely to develop dementia in their old age, right? More likely than people who have a generally more positive attitude and approach towards life. And I currently have a grandmother who is struggling with dementia, and it is not a pretty thing. So I personally don't want to end up that way. And I don't think we want to end up that way. I think we would rather have a long, happy life where we have a generally good quality of life, and managing our negativity is not only one of the things that we can do, but it is an extremely important thing that we can do. Also, there has been direct correlation drawn between people with more negative attitudes compared to people with more positive attitudes developing heart disease, stroke, diabetes. And the culprit, essentially at the bottom of all of this, is inflammation. Now, we all know what inflammation is, right? You know, if you've ever had any kind of arthritis, or if you've had a cut that itches or anything like that, that's because it's inflamed. If you ever had athlete's foot, that's inflammation. But what a lot of us don't know or don't realize is that inflammation doesn't just happen outside of our body. It happens inside of our body as well. And that's the inflammation that is so troublesome, because that's what eventually leads to plaque buildup in your arteries, which is essentially heart disease. You know, the artery gets damaged, the body responds, it sends cholesterol out there to patch up the hole. And the whole reason that it does that is because when the artery gets damaged, it becomes inflamed, and, you know, so on and so forth, the process begins. And the reason that negativity can cause an inflammation response, an inflammatory response, is because stress, depression, all these things that are tied to negativity, right, cause a cortisol spike in our brains. And the cortisol spike causes inflammatory responses throughout our body. So negativity not only affects our mind and our mental health, but, you know, I'm going to go a different way today. But it directly affects our own physical health. That's why, you know, people who are depressed and stressed are more prone to be overweight. They're more prone to consume alcohol, to smoke cigarettes, to do drugs. And it's because they're trying to manage their negativity and all of that stuff up in their head, and they just need to find something that takes the edge off. For me, that something was food, which has its own cavalcade of issues that it brings with it. But yeah, so that's why we need to manage our negativity. Now, before I get on to talking about ways that we can manage our negativity, I want to hit real quick on negativity as a defense mechanism, because this is something that I myself am guilty of, and I think a lot of us are guilty of. It was the primary subject of the conversation with my friend that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So how does this work, right? I always like to refer to it as reverse psychology, right? It was like, I thought to myself, well, if I expect a negative outcome, if I just assume everything is going to be bad, that the universe will look down and take pity upon me and say, you know what, he's suffered enough, I'm going to give him a break. But the thing is, doing that made everything negative. And my friend argued that when you do this sort of thing, when something good does happen, it feels so much more positive. And that's true. It does. But negativity breeds negativity. So, while you're being negative as a defense mechanism, what you're doing is causing yourself to miss a lot of smaller, easily missed positive moments in your life, right? And a lot of people have this all or nothing mentality, that things are either extremely bad or extremely good. But that's not true. There's all kinds of things that happen throughout your day that are good and positive, and you don't notice them because you're dwelling on the negativity. You have fallen into the negativity bias trap, and we need to get out of that. And if you even want to stretch it further than that, okay, Take your friends and family and the people that you have to interact with on a daily basis into consideration, because negativity is a fucking virus. If you go out into your day with a negative thought process and everything's going to be bad, whether you're doing it just because you're depressed or because you're using it as some form of defense mechanism or something, you are going to directly influence the mood of every person you come in contact with. A negative person introduced into a generally happy environment can turn that environment into a toxic environment like that. Don't believe me? Stop and pay attention every now and then. Go to work, right? Go to work. Try to be positive. Most people have experiences with work where it sucks. I've spoken about how my work sucks multiple times already. But just go to work one day and try to be positive and see how long it lasts. Pay attention to it and pay attention to the people that you're dealing with. If the people that you are dealing with are in a generally good mood, you're probably going to be in a generally good mood. If they're not, you're not going to be in a good mood unless you actively try to be in a good mood. Negativity is a bad habit, and it fuels other bad habits. It's just a fact. It's the vicious cycle, right? The smallest negative moment becomes a big negative moment because of our negativity bias. We focus on it. We dwell on it. And it puts ourselves into a preconditioned negative state, and we just keep on going. Everything becomes bad. It just rolls and rolls and rolls, and before we know it, we got to find something to take that edge off. Negativity's bad, man. Anyway, here are my tips on how to manage/control your negativity. However, go into this with a grain of salt, because negativity is not something that you can just wish away. It's just a part of everyday life, and you have to actively control it. Which brings me to my first tip: mindfulness. You have to be mindful of what you are bringing into a situation, right? So when you have a negative experience, if you can, in that moment, you need to stop, you need to pause and ask yourself, was this a negative experience, or did I use my own thoughts or actions to make it a negative experience? Right? You have to be mindful. You have to constantly be asking yourself, touching base with what's good, what's bad, and particularly, you need to try to focus on noticing the good things, no matter how small they are. All right? So be mindful. You might want to use meditation. I've not tried meditation yet. That's probably going to be a challenge that I do, so stick around for that. The next thing that I do, or that I have discovered in the last couple of weeks while doing this, is rituals. Okay? Now, a ritual can be something as simple as my keto coffee. I have had that every day, first thing in the morning for the past 10 years. It's a ritual. I don't have to think about it when I do it. But there are other rituals that you can do that have direct correlation with helping be in a better mood. So, like my sun exposure, right? Just the act of making sure that I do it every day sets me out on a good path for the day. Drinking my water, right? I haven't missed a day on either one yet. The earthing that I started, haven't missed a day on that yet either. It's become another ritual. You find good rituals, and they don't have to be things that are directly related to health. It can be, I'm going to call my best friend every night and just touch base with them and see how they're doing and talk to them, right? It can be Thursday night board games with friends and family. It can be going for a walk at a certain time every day. Just any kind of good ritual, just the act of maintaining it gives you a sense of accomplishment, and that will help stave off negativity. Another thing, and this one's real easy, is just gratitude. Okay? Just when you wake up every morning, first thing, take a moment. Sit up in bed before you get up. I mean, if you have to get up to turn off your alarm clock, that's one thing, because I've developed a habit of putting my alarm clock across the room to make sure that I have to actively get out of bed to turn it off. But once everything's calmed down, settled, you've gotten up, take a moment and just think about the things in your life that you are grateful for. That's it. It takes a minute or less or more if you really want to get into it. And that will start you out on a good path. And throughout the day, when you have those negative moments, stop and think of the things that you are grateful for that you thought of that morning. Bring them back. Make them a recurring thing. That can be a ritual itself. Okay? Appreciation, right? If you are actively trying to notice the positive things, you will start noticing things that people do in your daily life that you normally wouldn't notice that help you. And they might not be doing them directly to help you, but those things do help you. So be appreciative of those things. Basically, what we're doing here is we're trying to replace our negative thoughts with more positive thoughts and activities. Being helpful, speaking of being appreciative and people helping you, actively try to help other people. It doesn't have to be anything major. You don't have to give a person $3,000. You don't have to, help a person move their entire house, right? You're walking down the street and someone drops something. Pick it up for them, right? Help them. Be helpful. Being helpful. And not everybody is going to be appreciative of your help, because a lot of people just can't get past the negativity bias. And no matter what you do, their day is going to be bad. But remember, our day is not dependent on other people. It is dependent only on us. The last two kind of go hand in hand, and those are smiling, even if it's fake. That's right. There have been research studies done that shows that just the act of smiling can put you in a better mood. Obviously, it helps if you're smiling for a particular reason, but just the act of smiling. And the last one that I want to touch on is laughter. Find something funny to watch on TV, hop on YouTube and look for blooper reels. Tell yourself bad jokes. Look up jokes on the internet. Hang out with somebody who's naturally funny. Just do something to get yourself laughing, to just get yourself in a good mood. Get your energy up. It makes you feel good. Me, I have basically a catalog in my head of things that I've stored that make me laugh, that I can pull up at a moment's notice, that will cause me to genuinely just split my pants with laughter. So those are my tips on how to help with, manage, and control negativity bias in our everyday lives. This is going to be a long video. Most people probably aren't going to watch all the way to the end, and that's okay. But for those of you who did, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you, and I love you with complete sincerity. Now, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I really want to start trying to get my message out there to more people, and just be helpful. With that, I'm going to bring this long video to an end the way I always do. So remember, go forth and be good humans.